Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to have a look at a beer that I think will be really quite interesting actually for a couple of reasons. This is a style of beer that I really quite enjoy. I think it's quite underrated, and if it's done well it can be really quite nice. Some of the craft versions of this style can turn out very well, and it's also from a country that I don't get to review all that many beers from, so that makes it a little bit more special. So for this review we are going to head down to Italy once again, to the Milan area, Milano, and we're having a taste of my first beer from Birrificio Italiano. Now I've also seen this brewery called Nuovo Birrificio Italiano, the new Italian beer factory. So I'm not sure exactly what I should call this video, but we'll go with Birrificio Italiano for the purpose of filming. But this particular beer is the Tipopils, which comes in at 5.2% ABV, and this apparently was the first beer that they ever released, so hopefully it's a good one. But you can just see the size of this bottle here. I mean, I'm 6'1", 185 centimetres, however you want to put it, and you know, that kind of puts it in context. This is a massive bottle of beer, but in Italy it's a lot more common actually to sell beer in, you know, 660s or 750 millilitres. You know, the Italians very much brew craft beer along the same lines as wine. It's intended for sharing with your friends and stuff like that. So these bigger bottles are quite popular when it comes to many Italian craft breweries actually, although I think more and more of them are using the little small 330s. It really just depends on what kind of beer style you're drinking actually. Sour beers are very popular in Italy, I guess, because Italy's a wine country and sour beers do have a little bit of a kind of almost winey character to them generally. But this one wasn't too expensive. I mean, this was about 70 Swedish crowns, so roughly about €7, and when you consider the import costs and things like that, and the fact that things are more expensive in Sweden because it's a high income country, you know, I think it's a decent price for that actually. But this one was released through the small partiers here in Systembolaget on the 20th of September 2019. Very much looking forward to trying this beer, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on it then. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that hopefully I can do in the future from Nuovo Birrificio Italiano. Very first time I'm trying one of their beers, of course, hopefully not the last time. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Italian beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to whenever I get the opportunity, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then to tell you a little bit about Birrificio Italiano. So Birrificio Italiano was founded back in 1994 by Agostino Arioli, which makes them the first craft brewery to open up in the Lombaria region, which is the area just kind of around Milan. So Agostino apparently tried to brew beer with a Dutch friend in his youth, and this really kind of set his interest in beer for the rest of his life. But later, after completing school and university and things, he took up homebrewing once again along with his friend Mario, and soon after this his father put him in touch with Gianni Passa, who was Italian but trained as a brewer in Germany, and apparently his teachings were instrumental in helping Ago and Mario develop their beers early on. But they worked on recipes and built their first brewery, which had a small 200 litre kit with four 400 litre fermenters and also 3 open fermenters as well, and this can be found in Lurago, Marinone, which is just to the northwest of Milan, and it opened back in April of 1996. And like I said, this was the first beer that these guys ever released actually, which is kind of cool. But today there are a total of 11 partners in this company. This includes Ago's brother Stefano, and Maurizio Folli joined the company in 1999, and he was apparently instrumental in driving the growth of the company. So after he arrived in 2000, they bought a new brew kit of 700 litres, and in 2002 they recruited brewter Andrea Bravi, who created many of the new beers for them. A few years later they upgraded their brew house to 20 hectolitres, and they're still located in Lurago, Marinone. And although they do have a bar as well now next to Milan train station. But as of October 2019, when I'm filming this review for you, they've produced around 40 different types of beer actually. And that's another one of the things that you'll find with the Italian breweries actually, or at least what I've found from the ones that I've I've reviewed. Recipe development seems to take quite a long time for the Italian breweries. You know, they're very kind of perfectionist with it and things like that. So that's an interesting point to know. Italian breweries are not the most prolific when it comes to pumping out different numbers of craft beers and things like that, in my experience. That it might have changed a little bit now, because I'm sure there are far more Italian breweries now than when I actually reviewed my first Italian beers. The ones I've encountered, of course, have been the likes of Brewfest, Birra del Borgo, Birrificio Italiano, and a few other ones, of course, Birrificio del Ducato and stuff like that. But there are a lot of very, very small breweries that you are not going to find outside of Italy. So I really need to get back there and visit some of the beer bars and stuff like that, visit some of the breweries. That is definitely a trip that needs to happen at some point in the fairly near future. I'd love to go back to Italy. I've only been to Tuscany so far, but I want to explore Italy a little bit more. But yeah, that's all you really need to know about Birrificio Italiano for the moment. That was all I was able to find on these guys, really, but I think that is the main kind of body of information. If you want to learn more about this company, of course, you can check out the brewery website in the description below. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and of course you can check out the Rate Beer and Untappd pages if you're interested in all the different types of beer that they do. So yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this beer then. So like I said to you at the start of the video, this one is a 5.2% Pilsner style beer, the first beer that they released commercially from what I understand, and it's really nicely presented actually, you know, quite modern, but also kind of quite tasteful when it comes to the artwork and stuff like that. The Birrificio Italiano symbol taking, you know, pride of place right on the middle of the label there. But yeah, looks very, very nice. This one, as I said, it's a bit of a monster of a bottle, this. It's 750 millilitres, 70 Swedish crowns, so about €7 price-wise. Probably cheaper in Italy, right enough. But yeah, we'll just need to see how we get on with this one. So without further ado, let's get it out and we will get on with the tasting then. I'm very curious to see how this one turns out. Hopefully I can get this off without damaging the bottle. And this is the only problem actually with some of these bigger bottles, is that the lids are a bit too big for some of these bottle openers and things like that. So but yeah, I need to add that one to my collection. So there we go, let's get this guy out then and into the glass. I think this one will be pretty damn nice actually. Now when it comes to lagers, of course, most people will have experienced the likes of Peroni, Menabrea, what else is there, Moretti, things like that. And I mean, obviously macro beer is a completely different game from the craft beers and stuff like this, but I always found the Italian lagers were always quite nice, so I've got high hopes for this one. I mean, if we talk about it in a macro context, the Italian lagers were ones that I always quite enjoyed, although, as you say, you do expect more when it comes to a craft beer, but I'm sure we're in for a good one today. I've heard some of my friends were telling me good things about this one. So yeah, as you can see, and as you would expect from a Pilsner, this one's poured a lovely kind of straw golden yellow colour. There's a solid, I would say, half finger of a frothy, perfect white head on this one. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the bottom of the glass there at the sides, and then quite a few little ones just heading up towards the bottom of the head there. But you know, overall it does look pretty nice actually. I mean, nothing surprising about this beer in terms of its aroma, but yeah, looks pretty good. You can see there are tiny little particles of sediment just floating around in this one. I don't know if I maybe had the fridge just a little bit too cold for this beer, but it's been out of the fridge for about 10-15 minutes, so it should have warmed up just a little bit. You probably want to drink this beer fairly chilled. You want it to be nice and refreshing, but nothing overly surprising about this beer in terms of its appearance. So let's take a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we get on. Oh yeah, that smells quite nice actually. I mean, it smells almost very kind of German-like, to be honest with you, and that's not a surprise. It does actually say on their website that they select their hops from Germany. I think it was Tettnanger hops, but they also have some Slovenian hops too. You know, they've got the Styrian region in Slovenia is very good for hop production as well. And those hops, if it comes to Styrian Goldings and stuff like that, they are very similar to the likes of Czech Sats, Žatec hops, and also the German Hallertau and Tettnanger hops. So I mean, you do get a good hint of noble quality hop coming out of this one. So in that context then, you've got a nice little bit of floral quality there. Good little bit of a kind of grassiness to it as well. I'd say this beer is a little bit more floral than it is grassy, right enough. And I'm tempted to just say that from the aroma that's coming out here. I think there might be a mix of both Slovenian and German hops in this one, because the German Hallertau and Tettnanger, they're very distinctive because of the way the floral character comes out, and the floralness in this one is just a little touch more spicy, and I think it's, if I remember rightly, the Slovenian hops are just that little touch more kind of spicy in their floral notes actually. But the more you smell of it, the more you start to pick up the malty notes out of this beer. I mean, I'll say straight away, the aroma of this beer is not surprising when you consider the style. There's nothing unusual here, but it does come across really nicely actually. So, lovely kind of smooth grassiness to this beer. As I say, nice kind of noble floral quality to it as well, albeit a little bit more spicy than you might expect from German hops, right enough. So I think there might be some Styrian Goldings or Dana or something like that in here. There's a little teeny bit of an earthiness to it, but that's quite minimal. Mainly it's quite a floral hoppiness to this beer. The malt base comes across really nicely and quite smooth actually. I think it said on the website that they use a mixture of that it was using a mixture of different European malts. So I'm guessing some of those may come from Weirmann and Bamberg in Germany or something like that. But there's a good few Italian malteries from what I understand as well. They do have quite a bit of farming in Italy. But yeah, lovely, a lovely kind of smooth malt base to this one. Definitely a little bit of a kind of white bready note in there, pale malty qualities, but you've also got some nice kind of pilsnery crispness to the beer. There's a little bit of a kind of biscuity, cookie type element to this one as well, but that's quite minimal. To me, the malt base in this one really smells a little bit kind of smoother and more easygoing, if that makes sense. Fruitiness, there is a little bit of that in this. I mean, mainly it's that kind of lemony, grassy sort of citrusy ester that you're getting out of it. But at the same time, you also have a little bit of a kind of apple-y and peary sort of thing going on. To me, it leans a little bit more towards the apple-y side of things, and there's almost just a little bit of a sharpness to the apple-y notes that you get out of this beer. But I mean, overall, it's really nice how this aroma goes together actually. So take a little bit of time and just enjoy the aroma of this beer before you get on. It comes across as being a very nice pilsner in terms of its aroma. So we maybe need to comment as well on whether it's a little bit more Czech or German or what. Of course, the pilsner is a style that originated in the Czech Republic at Pilsner Urquell, but brewed by a German brewer, of course. So yeah, the Czech Republic, of course, used to be part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. But let's get stuck into this one then. Slàinte, skål, salute. Yeah, that's a pretty nice pils, I have to say. Thumbs up to Birrificio Italiano for this one. They have done a nice job here. They've produced something really quite crisp actually. Yeah, this is really nicely done. And I mean, this is one of the things you will notice. As I said, Italian breweries, in my experience, correct me if I'm wrong, they do tend to take a little bit more time over recipe development and stuff like this. You know, I guess it's probably that whole thing. The Italians, it's of course it's a food-orientated country, if you like. You know, it's made with love, they always like to say. But you can really feel, you know, you can kind of feel that with this beer. They've taken a lot of time and played around with this a lot to try and get it just right. And it really does hit the spot, to be honest with you. This is a really nice pilsner, and as I've said before, I think this is a very underrated style of beer. You know, there's a lot of things you can do with pilsners. You know, using new high alpha acid hops and stuff like this. You know, it's a very interesting style. It's a shame that more breweries don't play around with it. But yeah. So, in terms of this beer then, let's try and break down the flavour a little bit. But I will tell you straight away, this is a nice pilsner beer. It doesn't do anything surprising with the style, but it's very, very well crafted, and you know, that you can see that that's what a lot of Italian breweries would go for, to be honest. So in the middle of your palate then you can feel that nice smooth bready quality. That kind of blankets the middle of your tongue, but it's not very heavy bread, it's very, very light actually, and that's what you expect of a pilsner. You do expect just a nice light malt base that dries out a little bit. The further you go into the aftertaste, you really can feel the Pilsner malt coming out of this one a little bit more, a little bit kind of grainy and things like that. And then in the very centre of your palate, you can pick up that little bit of a nice kind of quite slightly sweet biscuity malt. Yeah, and as I say, the more that you drink of this, the more you get a little bit of that kind of sweet biscuity, kind of syrupy note out of the beer. I really like how the malt base in this one goes together. I mean, you can see with the big gulps I'm taking of this beer, you can see just how easy this beer is to drink. You know, this is a very good session beer. I mean, you know, this is one that you can buy one of these bottles for yourself and quite easily go through it. 2 of these for a party would do you quite nicely, actually. But I mean, it's a lovely. The malt base in this one is just, it's very, very well balanced actually. It's got that perfect balance between smoothness, sweetness and crispness. It's got all 3 things that you expect of this style of beer actually. So yeah, and I'm finding that the more you drink of it, it does get just a little bit more sweeter and smooth, which is really, really interesting. But yeah, I like this one. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this again, and you know, with this being their first beer, it makes me very curious to see what they've developed after this actually. So on the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate you can pick up a little bit of earthiness there, and it's that typical noble kind of earthiness, of course. But as you move further forward along the side of the palate, you can feel it gets just there's a teeny bit of an almost herbal quality there. But then as you reach the front corners of the palate, it's got that nice floral aromaticity. Maybe it's just a little touch kind of spicy. As I said, the thing about the Slovenian hops, maybe there is a bit of Slovenian hop in here. But then round the front curve of the palate, it's just a little bit lighter and more grassy in my opinion. Then behind the front curve of the palate, you've got that nice oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters will start to roll their way out of the beer. So yeah, for me, this one again, it's very kind of straight up. If you go in that oily bubble, it's kind of got a mixture of sort of appley and peary esters there, but further towards the front of the tongue, almost right on the tip, that's where you start to get the kind of slightly sharper, almost lemony, grassy kind of notes coming out of this beer. So it kind of, as I say, it's the further you go into the aftertaste as well, actually, those kind of lemony notes, they start to linger there and push their way out of the beer a little bit more. But the apple and peary esters are sitting at the back of the palate too, or sitting, sorry, towards the back of that oily bubble. But I mean, overall, this is a really quite nice, you know, it really is a very nice take on this beer. It tells you a little bit on the back about it as well. It just says, Tipopils tells the tales of wonderful barley fields and sweet-scented hop gardens, full-bodied, rich in aromas of malt, flowers and fresh hops. A dry and lusciously bitter finish irresistibly evokes a new sip. Tipopils is the first dry-hopped Pilsner in the world, a beer in open contrast with the laws of standardised global beer. A lager dares to go back to the primitives and infuse a new soul into tradition, able to recall long-lost sensations. It's interesting, actually. I wouldn't have guessed that the beer was dry hopped, to be honest with you. But then again, I wasn't looking for it. Well, that's the thing. I mean, maybe in fairness, that's why it smells a little bit more kind of spicy and things like that, and it tastes a little bit more spicy. So yeah, but this is a really nice take on the Pilsner style of beer, so it gets a thumbs up for me. And I wish more breweries would actually, you know, take these styles, and some of the ones, you know, you could try so much with these different hops. You could use Hallertau Blanc, for example. That would, if you had a German craft brewery brewing some, you know, a Hallertau Blanc Pilsner, I think that would be a really, really interesting thing actually. But in terms of the mouthfeel of this one, then. Yeah, I would say that this one, it is a light-bodied beer, but it's at the top end of light-bodied. The carbonation has a good level of crispness to it. This is, to me, this comes across as being a little bit more, one of the more oily Pilsners that I've come across actually, and that would kind of make sense if they've dry hopped it, and it is quite heavily hopped actually. So, in terms of the hoppiness then, there is a good level of bitterness to this one. I think we're maybe talking about 30, 35 IBUs with this. I mean, it probably is actually on the level in terms of bitterness with the likes of the Pilsner Urquell, for example, which is 30 IBUs, and that's quite that is quite a bit of bitterness for that style. So maybe, I mean, maybe this could even be a little bit more than that, 35 or 40 IBUs, something like that. I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest with you. But the malt base, like I said, has a really good balance between smoothness, crispness, and there's a little touch of sweetness in there as well. I'd say that, to be honest, on reflection, I would say that the smoothness and the crispness are a little bit more prominent than the sweetness, and it does have just that little bit of kind of fruity quality towards the end too. But I mean, as I say, this is one of these beers that doesn't do anything surprising with the style. It's just very, very well crafted, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, to be honest with you. It's another very nice Italian lager beer, actually, and as I say, this is a style that I really enjoy. My whole love of beer started with the German beers, of course, and it's always cool to try some craft Pilsner beers, actually. So this was a really interesting one to try, and it's definitely cool to review a beer from another Italian brewery that I hadn't come across before. I'd heard a lot about these guys, but I'd never actually come across a bottle of their beer before it came through the small partier. So hopefully we continue to get Italian beer through the small partiers here in Sweden. That's one of the good things. They're bringing us in a lot of quite interesting things. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one then. This one is the Tipopils, a lovely Pilsner beer, this one, coming in at 5.2% from Nuovo Birrificio Italiano in Lurago, Marinone, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, just a little bit to the northwest of Milan in Italy. Hopefully I can go and check out their bar or something sometime. That would be a really nice little trip. I need to go and explore Italy a bit more, actually, because it's a very beautiful country with very nice people from what I saw of it, so I need to go and visit some of the other places. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. A lovely beer. And it was great to review this one for you. The Tipopils from Birrificio Italiano, and definitely check this one out if you get the chance. Thank you for watching. Until the next time, Slanger just now. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Birrificio Italiano. Let me know if there's any good places I can order Italian beers and things like that, because I would love to review these more regularly on the channel. But hopefully I can get back to Italy at some point in the near future. Make sure you check out my social media, recommend me some other beers from Birrificio Italiano as well, and I'll catch you guys very soon. Until the next time, Slanger just now, and I'll catch you guys later. Slanger, skull, saluti, cheers.